Hello everybody, welcome to the Running Y Resort here in Klamath Falls, Oregon for our eBike Lite Shootout. We've got 11 impressive e-bikes battling it out. Stay tuned and see what we think of the Ari Nebo Peak. So before we get into it, we'd just like to say that there are going to be 11 videos on each of these bikes reviewed in depth and detail before we get to our grand finale. We would like to thank Outdoor Research, Schwalbe Tires, and Ride Concepts Shoes for making each of these videos and this series possible. Without their support and the support of some of our YouTube members, we would not be able to create these projects. So thank you all very much. We appreciate it. So Cole, Jared, let's get into the Ari Nebo Peak.
So the Ari Nebo Peak, it is a 140 rear, 150 front, trail-focused lightweight eMTB. It's got a 480 millimeter reach, 434.6 millimeter chain stays. It's got that 65-degree head tube angle and effective seat tube angle of 77.5 degrees.
Also worth noting, it is the lightest bike in the shootout.
It sure is the lightest
40.7 pounds.
Yes, it rides that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Fazua drive unit with the 430 watt-hour battery. Jared, take it away. What are your thoughts about this bike?
Ari is a brand I didn't have any experience with, and I came away with this pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
I like the looks of the bike. I like the two-tone paint. I like that they changed some things up in terms of, like, you know, just giving some accents. So nice visuals. But really what we all care about is how does a bike ride? And this bike presents something really interesting. It's a good value. It's easy to ride everywhere. It just puts a smile on your face, and that's kind of why we mountain bike, right? It's just to have fun. You know, you're not going to pick this if you're on the gnarliest stuff, but it can get you through just about everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Standouts for you?
Yeah, for sure, standout corner confidence. Man, pitching this thing into those very, very loose corners was an absolute joy. And it's just got really balanced geo, and, you know, that shorter travel feel in the right scenario is really pleasant. I did find this bike to have a bit of an edge. That 140 rear really started to show its limits once you started getting into some fast terrain with repeatable, bigger, you know, axle height chunk, things like that. But again, it's a trail bike, so riding it with that intention and being able to dabble in some deeper stuff is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, man, this bike on that flow trail, you could just pop, play, flick it around, dive into corners. Very confident, inspiring.
Yeah. I parallel what Cole's saying. And when I was climbing today with this bike and doing some technical tight corners, easy to get up them. Same with the tight technical descents. Like, it's just, the bike's not too long, but it's not so in one category, in one bucket, that it lets you down. It's an easy bike to ride everywhere.
And for me, I really enjoyed the Super Deluxe paired with the Lyric. This is the only bike we have with the Super Deluxe on test.
Okay.
I really like this shock. I think it's lively. I know you might have some different opinions on this bike specifically, but I found it to be very active.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I would agree with you guys on the playfulness side of things. I think part of it's part of the weight. I think the, you know, lateral frame stiffness also is part of it, right? Getting the back end to slap into some turns. It is very lively and active, I would say, in some aspects. Where the bike kind of falls behind for me is maybe it's a high anti-squat value, the suspension kinematic, but I felt that there is a pretty noticeable spike in energy transmitted when that rear wheel hits kind of square edge or sharper hits.
Yeah.
And so when I got into Nighthawk, which is one of our, like, you know, black diamond kind of technical descent trails, you'd round a corner and it'd be a, you know, smooth, nice flat dirt. And then there would be a rock, you know, and it's 3, 4, 5 inch tall rock into a, you know, 2-3 foot drop on the backside. And I'd go over that drop and kind of unweight the bike a little bit to suck that rock up and get down on the backside of that drop for a turn. And I would find that when that back wheel hit that rock, it would just transmit quite a bit of force and buck the back end of the bike up into me. And it, rather than just kind of like absorb it and take it in stride. And so that was something that kind of translated to on the ground, right? When I was keeping the bike on the ground and just hitting square edge bumps repeatedly, it just transmitted a little bit more feedback than I would personally like and care for. The flip side is, you know, when I got this bike on smoother trails, the flow trails, that sort of stuff, there wasn't a bike that accelerated faster just from my pumping.
Yeah.
And like there's a shot, I think Brian has, where you round this corner and there was like that series of rollers before the whoop section.
Yeah.
And I pumped those rollers and accelerated faster than I had on any other bike, and actually found a new double that I'd never seen after having gone down it on 20 different bikes. And I just saw this gap because of the speed this bike opened up for me, and it takes big hits well.
It does. That's the thing with this rear suspension.
Yeah, like
is
landing big
when
hits.
you're landing big stuff, there's enough progression in that suspension system that it feels totally fine.
Right.
And set up with enough small bump to be comfortable on the climbs, which is something I did find to be true about this bike as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it hits pretty hard for a bike that's so light, is what I would say.
Well, and you were talking about that kind of spike before the drops. I found myself pre-hopping a lot of those. We had, these 2 foot tall drops. I'd come in, pre-hop, foot out, slide the corner. It was pretty fun.
It's a very fun and playful bike. And as someone who said Ari was not at all on your radar, I don't know if you've ever seen one in person before, but like, what are your thoughts of the bike? Would you recommend this to someone?
I mean,
where does it stand for you?
It's hard not to say that this wouldn't be a good bike for a lot of people. I could easily recommend this to a lot of my friends. They come in at a competitive price point. They have a good looking bike. It does a lot of things really well. And there's nothing that's just like, oh no, there's a huge compromise, or there's a big red flag here. And like, if you're talking about a bike that's really light and you're like, I just don't like the way it hits that edge, right? Like, do what we love doing on bikes, experiment, tinker, try a different shock, try something that's a little burlier, try a coil, but I think for most people that be looking at a bike this size with this travel, with this weight, it checks all the boxes.
It's packaged the way it should be packaged.
Yeah. Like, if it takes the edges better, you might be adding 2 pounds because it's a burlier fork, it's this. But to your point, it might be some of, the curve on the suspension kinematics, and that's something you can't change as much.
Okay.
But just depends what you want.
We didn't talk a lot about the Fazua drive system. Do you guys like it?
Because it blended so well. That's why I kind of forgot about it. It really, the Fazua drive system is really meant to be on a bike like this, I think.
Okay.
A trail-focused bike. It's lightweight. You can use a lot of your own energy to get the power and then have that boost of the motor going uphill. This is the bike that I did my hill climb test on. I hit the 100-watt peak boost on the ring controller 17 times before I got to the top of the hill in a row. And
Cheater.
Yeah,
I was trying to see if it would overheat.
Yeah, we were trying to. We try to test them as hard as we can.
Yeah, and so it's just very natural. I think it is a perfect motor and drive unit package for this type of bike.
Okay.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. The Ari Nebo Peak. I think an all-around very solid, fun, fast, and playful trail duty e-bike Lite. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the rest of the bikes in this series. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can see more. And thanks a lot. We'll see you out on the trails.